I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I am so excited to have my next guest. Ian Parker is here. He and I are connected through V Team Referral Network, and we met at a summit, went through breakout room, and we just kind of been in contact off and on, through different summits and opportunities that we have to network through the referral team network. So I'm excited to have him here today to kind of give us some insight as to what he has going on in the world because he is not in the United States, he is in Australia. So we'll hear about that in a moment. But first, let's give you the opportunity, Ian, to introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Latel. That's great. It's actually great to talk to you at a reasonable hour because I think the last time we spoke was about 3 o'clock in the morning my time. So it's good. Look, a bit about me and what I do is we've got an online sales coaching business here in Australia. We've got clients in Australia, New Zealand, and the US. And what we did was we built our own interactive training platform that people go onto. It's got daily and weekly accountability. We can white label it. It's an amazing platform that has no end to what we can do and how we can help businesses with it.
Love that. And that's just so important right now with a lot of people trying to restructure, reinvent themselves. So, what are some of the things that we kind of get wrong when it comes to sales?
Look, I think the biggest thing that we get wrong is that we listen to respond, not to understand. So that's the biggest thing. And I'll give you an example. You think about this and try this, and your people that are listening, try this. Next time you at a restaurant, and we know we go to a restaurant, we have a lovely meal, or sometimes we don't have a great meal, okay, but we go up to pay for that meal, and the cashier always says, "How was your meal?" And we always go, people go, "Oh, yeah, no, it was great," or "it was okay," or whatever. They always do that, right? My wife gets really cranky with me because I'll go up and go, "Oh, yeah, no." They'll go, "Oh, how was your meal?" I go, "Oh, it was ordinary." "Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it." And they take your money because they're not listening to understand. They're listening to respond because their mind is set up that they always go, "Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it," because that's how their mind is programmed to answer your question, because they are presuming what your answer is going to be rather than listening to what you said.
I love that, and so, it just goes into active listening.
Absolutely.
I had to learn that lesson pretty hard with my children. I am one that can really tune them out when you have so many, So, what are some ways that we can begin to practice active listening? Because so many people, like just that illustration that you gave, we just don't even realize what we're doing. We've kind of ignored it to the point that it's just a habit. So where should we start in terms of making a transformation with that?
So the first thing to do when people when you're talking to people and you ask a question and
Mhm.
they respond, count to 5 and absorb what they've said, so you understand what they've said and then reply. Now, two things with that is by doing that, what it does is you're actually comprehending exactly what they're saying. But the other thing is if they haven't finished saying, they might just be drawing breath to continue on with what they're going to say. So when people are finished talking, just count to 5. It's not long, and then respond because you actually think about what they said, and you'll come back. But when you respond straight away, you assume what they're going to say. Now, I'll give you an example. Another example, right? People that walk into, let's say they walk into a furniture store and whatever furniture stores you want to be in the US and whatever, right? But it doesn't matter. And a salesperson comes up to them and says, and normally the husband or wife will say, "Look, now we're just going to look today. We're not going to buy that new fridge today. We're just going to have a look, see what's around, and we'll make a decision," right? So that's what their preconceived idea is when they walk into a furniture store. Okay.
Mhm.
So then the salesperson walks up to them and says, introduces himself, welcome to Walmart or whatever the case may be. How can I help you today? And the husband and wife say, oh, no, we're just having a look for some fridges. And the salesperson says, yes, fine. Are you looking for anything particular? No, I'm just looking. And the salesperson walks off, right? And because that's everyone's scripted for that. That's how it all works, right? But if you want to break that concentration and then have the customer talk to you and show that you care and show that you're actually listening to them, when they go, no, I'm just looking, we're just going to look today, we're not making any decisions. And if the salesman goes, hey, perfect, I can help with that, then all of a sudden the customer goes, well, hang on a minute. They'll say something like, what do you mean you can help? You don't even know what I'm looking for or anything. And you go, no, I understand all that. But if I can just ask you some questions and better understand your situation and needs, and then maybe show you some options, would that be okay? And all of a sudden the people think that you've listened to what they've said, they've responded, and they're thinking, he's actually listening, caring, and he's understanding what my needs are. And because it's all about them and not about you. And that's the important part in sales, that the salespeople got to remember it's all about them, the customer. It's not about you. It's not about your commission. It'll come.
So true. I think that is really good because, and so many salespeople lead with their desire to make a sale rather than the desire to connect, so where does that really come from, you think?
Well, it comes from many ways, but one of the ways is that they're just focused on their pocket and they're focused on the commissions, right? Some of it is the old way of selling that they've been taught from the 70s and things, which is all about just get the sale and churn and burn, right? And what they've got to realize is it's all about building trust and rapport. And, like in our online coaching program, we talk about, it's 70% is building trust and rapport and asking great questions. Mm-hmm. If you ask great questions, the people, and you relate the questions to them, you want the answers to help you make a sale. There's no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. But if you do it in a way that the customer doesn't feel threatened and is happy to give you those answers, and they believe that, because you're asking the questions, it's about them, and you're trying to provide a solution to their problem. And that's what it's all about. And if you work on that, then the sale will come. There's no risk the sale will come. The other thing is that for salespeople that have a very thin pipeline, so what I mean by that, like very few leads in their pipeline, they're desperate. So when you become desperate, you take shortcuts. Mm-hmm. Okay? So that is the other problem. If you've got a full pipeline, you're not desperate. And if you do have a hard customer that you can't help or whatever, you go, yeah, thanks very much. I'd love to help you, but I can't help you today. And you can move on. But when you're desperate, you're shortcutting and trying to work out how can I do all this and get that business that I don't really need.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Those are some good pointers. So, they say that a lot of times the fortune is in the follow-up. So what are some creative ways, especially now standing out amongst the competition or the limited amount of businesses that are functioning right now when it comes to follow-up? What are some creative ways that we can handle that?
Well, the most amazing way to use for follow-up is video. Okay. So if you want to follow a client up that you might have had trouble getting hold of, let me just go back a bit. We'll talk about follow-up. I'll just explain this to you. Okay. People think in follow-up, they follow up 2 or 3 times and they don't get a response and they think, Chella's not interested. She's not buying from me. America's SuperMom's too busy doing everything else and has no interest in me. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what happens is, but you don't know. You don't know that one of America's SuperMom's children might have fell off the swing on the weekend and might have had to go to hospital, and we're busy with the child for 3 or 4 days. You don't know that. Right. But you presume because you didn't get a phone call back or anything that she's not interested. And that's not the case at all. So the thing is with follow-up, you've got to continue to follow up. I'm not saying you follow up to be a pest. There's a lot of difference, okay? And you've got to do it effectively, and you've
Right.
got to do it so that it's cool, and it's really got to be cool. So with follow-up, you can use email, you can use phone, you can send handwritten letters, you can use text, and you can use video. And you think about this, how powerful is it? If when people are sitting, let's use an example. People are sitting at a coffee shop, and whether it be male, female, it doesn't matter. Or they're sitting at a coffee shop. If their phone goes ping, what does everyone do as soon as their phone goes ping, no matter where they are?
Looking at it.
That's right. So you imagine sending a video that says, "Hey, America's Supermom, it's Ian here, just following up to make sure we're still cool for our podcast on Thursday. Let me know if everything's cool. Hey, why don't you send it back on a video?" Right? We teach that in our program, and one of our clients is a home builder. Okay, so as we know that when someone signs to buy a new home, and they know it's going to be 6 or 7 months, right? So they know that, but they would assume after 2 or 3 months, because they're so eager to get in their new home, they're thinking after 2 or 3 months, is it 6 or 7 months yet? Okay, so the builder, to make it time, because builders want to get the home built, and
Right.
they don't need to be on the phone every week going, "Hey, America's Supermum, it's Ian here. Have I got you at a good time?" "Yes, I have." "How's the weather been?" "Yeah, great." "How are the kids going?" "Great." And we're talking, for 5 or 10 minutes about that. Then we tell them that we've just poured the slab on the house, right? So the builder's wasted 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, not being rude with that, but speaking about where the house is up to. But how much more powerful would it be if he got his camera, video out and gone, "Hey, America's Supermum, guess what? We've just laid the slab on your new home, and everything's on track to be in as we promised. Catch up soon," and sends that to them,
Now that is impressive.
right? Now you imagine when you're sitting at the cafe with your girlfriends having coffee, pre-COVID, post-COVID, whatever, right? But you imagine, and your phone goes ping, and you're watching the video, and all the girlfriends go, "What you doing? What's happening?" "Oh, we're getting a new home." "Oh, you're building a new home?" "Yes, we are." "Who's building it?" "Oh, Green Homes are." "Oh, fantastic. What's that?" "Oh, they've just poured the slab." "Do they do that all the time?" "Yes, when they did the earthworks, they did it. When they put the slab down, they did it." And then we teach them to do it when you put the frame up, when you put the roof on, when you put the windows in, when you put it to lock up, when you're doing fit out. So it's
That's
just a
good.
wow factor all the way through the build. Now, we can adapt that to no matter what industry it is. We work with a manufacturing industry here in Australia that builds seed bins for the farmers.
Mm-hmm.
So we get them to show, as they're building the seed bins, as they're going along the production line, a quick video sends it to the farmer. When it's finished and being powder coated and ready to go on the truck for delivery, they send another one. Then, as it's loaded on the truck and it's heading off into the sunset to be delivered, they send another one. "Hey, Mr. Farmer, just letting you know your feed bin left today. It'll be there at 9 o'clock in the morning."
Wow.
And
That's
that
good.
takes 10 or 15 seconds, but the wow factor that the client gets from it is amazing.
Hmm. So good. Yeah, and I think a lot of that though comes from somebody having that customer experience or being mindful of the journey of the customer.
Absolutely.
Because for the most part, people just look at the transaction of the sale and that's it. They get the sale, the contract signed, and then it's like, hey, they're off, running around excited and jumping around and forget about the customer.
100%. And the customer experience is the most amazing thing, and something to think about. And I learned this from a guy called John Formica in the US. Here they call him, I think, he's Mr. Disney in the US. But his big thing is, and I preach it to all my clients, is every time you do something for your customer, think about, how can I plus one that? How can I plus one that experience? Okay, so it doesn't mean that it's got to cost you a lot of money. It can be something small. It can be something like, if you're sending out quotes and you say to your customer, I'll have that quote to you by 4 o'clock. So the customer's waiting for that quote at 4 o'clock. The +1 wow factor could be having it through at 3:30. It's just the simple little things, but think about what can I do to +1?
I like that. And and that's really a low barrier of entry, having it small enough to where you're not going through a bunch of anxiety about it. So, I love those different ideas about the follow-up. So, when it comes to people who are like, really nervous, they have the customer in front of them and just asking for the sale, the close, what are some things that we should really be focusing on to make that ask?
Okay, and you're funny, I get that question asked a lot, as you can imagine, right? And people ring me and say, Ian, can you come on site and teach my people how to close the sale? I need you here for 8 hours to teach my people how to close the sale. I go, yeah, that's fine. I can do that. But what else do you want me to do for the other? If I'm in there for 8 hours, what else you got for me to do for 7 hours and 55 minutes? And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, to teach someone to close the sale takes 5 minutes, because if I go, hey, Luchelli, you are happy to go ahead with what I've shown you today? And you go, yes, well, I've just closed the sale. So that took me 2 minutes. Okay.
I love it.
But
That's
you know
good.
what? If I don't do the A to Z right before I get to ask you for your business, all we're going to be focused on is price. Because if you don't see the value in what I'm offering you, and you don't see that solves a solution, that is a solution to your problem, then all we're going to be doing is focused on price. So closing the sale is the easiest part of the sale if you've done your A to Z right. If you haven't done your A to Z right, it is the hardest part, and the only person to blame for that is yourself, because you didn't do it right.
I love that. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, because it's so funny how we just get to, placing ourselves in a situation as if we had no forethought in how we got there. So it's like, oh, they didn't buy, but what did you do leading up to that? How did you approach them? What was your demeanor, your attitude? So I love that, because, we got to be willing to take accountability.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it also goes back to your questions. If you ask great questions, you get great answers, and the sale process becomes smoother.
Hmm.
You ask
Love
bad questions, you get bad answers, and the sale process becomes harder. And
it.
with the whole sale process, unless you continue to build value all the way through, that's why objections come up. That's why you get questions. You think about it. If I said to you, I've got a widget here, and I sell it to you and show you the value in it and show you how it's going to solve a problem for you, and you believe in your mind with what you've looked around that widget is worth $100, and I turn around and say, and the price for this is $67.95, are you going to ask me for a discount?
Because you've already made up your mind. You thought it was $100.
That's right.
So you
Because
thought you
I
did the
feel,
discount. Yeah.
yeah, because my perceived value in my presentation showed and had you thinking there was $100 in value. So price doesn't come into it. What I've done by doing a great sales presentation is I've taken your eyes off the price.
Love that. Hmm. That's good. So what are some things that we need to really be focusing on when we're building up that value? Because a lot of people are like, you go based on what your competitors are doing. What is it that we should really be focusing on to make that value statement clearer?
Well, first of all, you've got to forget about your competitors, because you've got to have a mindset that I don't have any competitors. Who's your competition out there? I don't have any competition, because I'm the best at what I do. So
Love
you've
that.
got to think about that. Okay.
Hmm.
Then you've got to make sure you ask the right questions. You can build value in your sales presentation. And it goes back to those discovery questions. It all starts at the beginning. If you do all those discovery questions right, and as you're getting those answers, you're building value that I want this to be hot, or I want this to be cold, or I want the widget to do this or the widget to do that, and you're showing them how that widget's going to do these things as you go through your presentation, you continue to build value in that widget, and it shows them what that widget will do. And the customer is thinking, I've got to have that widget. I can't believe that widget's going to do all these things for me. I thought the widget would only do this and this for me, but I can see it can do so many more things for me, because you keep building value in what that widget will do for them. You ask them questions. How do you feel do you feel that would solve that problem, the widget doing this, this, and this for you?
Mhm.
What's all that worth to you?
Mhm.
So you ask those questions.
I love that because I think a lot of times, we just try to rush through that process, or we think that the product or something is going to sell itself, which sometimes that does happen.
Yeah,
But for the most part, people are afraid of silence. They're afraid of asking some of the harder questions, and you have a lot of people who come to you that they really don't know what they need. They know what they want, but they also need things also. So it's, you have to kind of take that expert approach. And a lot of people kind of shy away from that.
100%. And
Mhm.
again, you've got to listen and you've got to look at it. Let's another example is, you think a man walks into a car dealership, right, or a car store as they're called in the US, and he's got four kids with him, and he walks in and he wants to look at a two-seater car, and because that's what he wants.
Right, right.
He wants that,
Hmm.
but he doesn't need that. He needs a six-seater. So if the salesman doesn't ask enough questions and the buyer says, I want to buy that because that's what I want, but that's not going to do the job.
Hmm. Love that.
So that's you can't perceive that, oh, well, he wants that, so I'm not going to ask him any questions because he wants it. I'll take his money and I'll move on. I know a lot of sales trainers will say that you've got to get a sale over and done with quickly, and I disagree with that. I believe that the sale process is about the experience you give the customer, and it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
Now, whether it's a 2 mile marathon or a 10 mile marathon, that depends on how the experience is going with the customer, and you're answering their questions, fulfilling their needs, and giving them an experience.
I
So
love that.
it's not about shortcutting it.
Yeah. So sometimes it could mean like not even just asking for that sale, but it's kind of like the journey. So it's like, allowing them to take a leadership role when it comes to maybe they need a little bit more education or a little bit more confidence about the features really working for them, and depending on the price point that you're talking.
Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you talk about price point, um, if you've got a product that's, let's say your widget's $5,000,
Hmm.
and the customer says, and you've shown them the features, the benefits, and how good for them it is, and they might say, excuse me, they might say, oh, that's no, that's too expensive. It's out of my budget. Whatever. What else you got? I would take them and show them a $7,000 widget and show them the benefits and the features of a $7,000 widget, and then they look at that and they go, you know what? That has so much more gear in it. I might just see if I can find that extra money for that $7,000 widget. A lot of salesmen go back and show them the $2,000 widget, but what happens is they've already got themselves a customer what's in the $5,000 widget. So to go back to the 2,000 widget, they think, oh no, I don't worry about it, I'll go. But if you take them and show them the $7,000 widget, they're going, wow, look at all these extra features in this $7,000 widget. I think it's better value. I think we could just have to, I know we're struggling at five, but how great is this? Or they then think, oh, we'll just take the five. But you take them up, walk
I
them up,
love
show
that.
them, then walk them back.
I love that. Now that definitely is a good one because most people they go right for the lower price. If
Absolutely.
somebody is complaining on price, they go to the lower one. That is a good technique. I mean, that's amazing right there.
Yeah.
That's a game changer, and it really makes a lot of sense because especially if they're connecting on the value that they want, then you show them even more value. So it's just like a no-brainer, but that's good. Yeah,
It's
that's awesome.
yeah, 100%. And you're showing them the more benefits that it's doing for them and more things that'll help them with.
Mhm. That's amazing. So this is great. So, what are some good books that people could read or podcasts to kind of help them build up their confidence, so to speak, when it comes to sales?
Well, there's plenty of books out there. Grant Cardone's got a book, The Closer's Survivor Guide,
Hmm.
and a few of his other books are good books. There's a few on the podcast. His Salesman's Podcast is a good podcast. Um, if you follow my LinkedIn channel, we post a sales tip up there, a 1 minute, 60-second sales tip up there every week. So, and there's hundreds of 1 minute sales tips. So not as if you've got to spend hours and hours and hours and hours, but they're just 60 seconds full of meat, in and out and done. So they're leadership, sales, motivational, all on my YouTube page. So yeah, there's plenty of books out there, of plenty. Brad Lee is another guy from the States that he's got good stuff.
Hmm.
There's so many out there, but you need to find the people that have walked the walk and talked the talk, because there's some people, without being rude, have been hit in the backside from Yale University with a huge book, and then think that they're superstar sales closers, and some of them probably can't close a door.
So true. So true. So I guess the last question that I would ask is, you're a salesman. I'm just saying, if this is somebody watching, they are in the salesman role. What should they do? How should they set their day up, with a balance of income producing activities? Because some people think, okay, I'm going to go and make these presentations, but you've got follow up or different things like that. So, what should a day for a successful salesperson look like?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing I suggest you do, and I'm still a bit old school, I run a paper diary. Also run
Okay.
it in conjunction with Outlook. But the first thing you should do is go to my YouTube channel and watch a 3-minute video I've got on how to set up and manage a productive daily diary. And the
Okay.
first thing you've got to do if you want to be successful in sales is plan your day the night before.
Mm.
Okay, so have your diary set up and plan it the night before.
Mhm.
Um, put in there, and I break it down on how to put your hot leads and your leads and everything in your diary. So watch that video, because I won't spend 3 minutes going through that, but watch
Mhm.
that. The other thing is set time aside for follow-up. People don't understand that follow-up is the most important part. I know people say prospecting is important, it is, but I
Mhm.
believe follow-up is more important, because the people you're following up, I class them as hot prospects, because they've already made an inquiry, they've already got a quote, they've already spoke to you. So they are the ones that are coming down the bottom of that funnel, ready to come into a sale. So
Mhm.
you must set 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depends on how many you've got, to follow up every single day. Go to a quiet room, shut the door, put the do not disturb sign up, and follow up, follow up, follow up, because that's where the fortune is. You think an amazing amount of people I speak to, and salespeople that say, "Oh, I just don't have time. I don't have time." You don't have time to follow up your hot leads, man. Like,
Uh,
what the hell?
It is the truth. It is the truth. I don't know what it is. I think people just say, "Oh, well, I got to do a little work for this money or something." It's the person is not. They, I mean, they get kind of warm to them because they think hot is somebody who is just like ready to buy, but you have to nurture that relationship or create that desire, plant that seed, and all those things, which takes work.
100%. And
Hmm.
I call follow-ups like gardening, right? You get the soil, you turn the soil, you plant the seed, you put a
Hmm.
bit of water on the seed, you nurture the seed, you weed around it, a bit more water on it, starts to sprout. It's not ready to pick the fruit off it yet, so you water it a bit more, you nurture it a bit more, keep watering, and then all of a sudden the fruit comes, and that's your fortune.
Hmm.
But you've just got to. It's a step by step thing. It's not. Oh, they've made an inquiry. That if they buy now, I'm going to throw them out the door.
Right.
Some people will take 2 or 3 years to make a decision
So
for
true.
whatever reason.
So true. I mean, I've done that to people in my own personal journey in terms of, them pursuing me. And I'm like, I'm not trying to put you off. It's just a matter of timing, you know?
But when you get that pain point, you're straight onto them.
Yeah. So true.
And
But
that's
it
what
comes,
it is. Yeah.
yeah, comes from a relationship, though. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
So they can go to my website, which is ianparkerinternational.com.
Hmm.
And there's so much free stuff on my website. They just help themselves. The links off my website are to my YouTube page, my Facebook page, and my LinkedIn page. You can follow me on LinkedIn, which is just Ian Parker. You'll find me on there. I'm the good-looking guy. And by Aussie sense of humor, isn't it?
Hey, that's good. Look, you got to have confidence. You definitely can't be in sales, being, really shy and, not assertive. So I get that.
And look, if anyone wants to, if you connect with me on LinkedIn or you want to send me an email, which is ian@ianparker.com.au, I will send you a link to a free sales power course, 5 8-minute videos on building relationships, prospecting, follow up, objections, and negotiating. 5 8-minute videos will drop into your inbox every day for the next 5 days. I'll send that to your audience. Anyone, you connect with me on either LinkedIn or through my webpage or send me an email at ian@ianparker.com.au. I'll send them the link to that, and there's some good gold nuggets in there.
Awesome. Well, this has just been amazing. I hope you guys were really taking some notes. These were some good nuggets that Ian shared with us. So, what final words would you want to leave with everybody today, Ian?
When you're in sales, I want you to think about no matter how many times you get knocked down, get back up again, and never ever give up. Believe in yourself and believe in your process, and you'll be fine. And the last thing I want to leave everyone with is the way you sell is this: you sell yourself first, you sell your business second, and your product will sell itself.
I love that. Yeah, very good. These are some great nuggets. Okay, I'm gonna be taking some notes when I come back and watch the replay. So, if you guys have any questions, I encourage you to reach out to Ian. He's very easy to get a hold of, and as you can see, he takes his job and business seriously. He will follow up with you. If you have any questions that you don't feel comfortable sharing with him in a call, feel free to put them in the comments and we will make sure that we get those answers for you. So, Ian, we just want to thank you so much for your wisdom and insight and look forward to having you come back and give us some more insight later on throughout the year.
Yeah, look, I appreciate you having me on your show. I think it's great. And I do believe you are America's super mum because I know you've got 438 children, which is amazing. No, not quite that, but I know it's amazing. And look, thank you for having me on your show. And I would love to come back. And look, if your audience at the next time want to send you in a heap of questions, I'm happy to give them answers to all their questions and wherever I can help them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. And we want to thank you guys for watching us today. Again, reach out to Ian and get those questions answered. Put them in the comments. Either way, we will make sure that we get them handled for you. We want to thank you all for watching. Have a great evening, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Cheers. Thank you.